reality therapist perception.
Hello and welcome back to Reactivity TV, where we give our therapist takes and perspectives to all the trending shows and movies that you are currently watching. I'm Amy Albero.
And I'm Catherine Van Eyck. We're both licensed therapists and talking to you today about The Bear Season 2, episodes 6 through 10. So if you missed our episodes 1 through 5, go check it out and then come watch this because we have to finish up the season and there's so much to talk about. Even just in episode 6. I feel like we could spend the entire time talking about episode 6, but we won't.
Really?
Maybe a little. We'll see.
But I mean, yes. I mean, of course, we have to talk about episode 6, and there was so much more to this season. I know. I said it in part 1 of our season 2 reactions, but this season really brought it, and I particularly enjoyed the second half of the season where we actually got to see the players. Like, we really got to see the context. Like, it all made sense. My therapist in me, who's been trying to assess the situation from season 1, just felt so satisfied.
Right. Every why are you the way that you are? Oh, now I get it.
Yeah, season 6 was that's why. Episode 6 was that, the answer. I gave all the answers. And so I know we're going to talk, so why don't we just start with that? Why don't we just start with episode 6? And then I know we have other things that we'll want to talk about, but what, I don't even know where to start with that question. What did you notice about the family dynamics, all of it?
Yeah, you of course you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the family dynamics. Wow. We really got to finally see why Carmi is pretty distant from his family presently. Why he and Sugar even have this odd little dance that's disconnected but kind of reconnecting now. And of course, Mikey's no longer around, and they kept alluding to almost our quote unquote fucked up family, but we didn't know anything about it. So we got a little taste of the trials and tribulations that this family faces. Of course, during Christmas time, which you and I both know can be a very stressful time for many families. Holidays can be really, really stressful. And this was maybe one of the most stressful ones I've ever seen in my life.
Yes. And again, as a viewer, I felt like I could feel it, watching it. It was stressful to watch. And it reminded me of Succession, season 4, episode 3.
Well, specific.
Sorry, very specific. But when Logan made his exit, I guess I'll say, and that episode where you just felt like you were there, and that level of emotionality was, I haven't felt anything like that since that Succession episode. And wow. And I think the other thing, you're right, the holidays are really stressful. So that's important to kind of know for the timeline. And I don't know if you did the math in terms of how many weeks before restaurant.
Yeah, I think it was 4 years or something?
Yes, I think 5 years.
Okay, 5. Okay.
Prior to I asked my husband to do the math.
Yeah.
And so that context was also really helpful because Carmi hadn't yet been to New York. It seemed like maybe Mikey's addiction was, and obviously wasn't as pronounced as it might have been toward the end of his life. We see, maybe the beginnings of Carmi feeling like Mikey didn't want me to work in the restaurant. We see, we see the beginnings of what we hear a lot about in season 1, which was helpful. But yeah. So the family dynamic. So what resonated with you there?
Yeah, well, I'll just start with Sugar. How she kept checking on mom. She kept asking her if she was okay, maybe 5,000 times in this episode. And what she really was saying when she was asking mom, are you okay? Was what she was really saying was like, you're not okay. Let me help you.
Mm-hmm.
And she, instead of saying that, because I could understand why her mom might not be receptive to that, and in the end was not receptive to her even asking if she's okay, she was parentified. She really was trying to take care of her mom. And of course she's a grown adult, so it's not the same as an actual, child being parentified, but you're an adult child. And that parentified position is still one that's very tricky to navigate. And clearly you can see how much she is feeling for her mom, and at the same time has a lot of feelings because of her mom. Mm-hmm. So just in that question alone, and the looks that she was giving her, she looked afraid. She looked afraid, like she knew something was going to happen. And I think somebody even said, like, this is where something usually happens. Mm-hmm. But she didn't look comfortable in the slightest. I mean, the episode had started with her. The episode had started with her outside of the house. Her brothers were coming outside to comfort her and bring her back in. But she had already had it at that point. And then we saw her get right back into her role of trying to take care of her mom, trying to regulate the situation that was very chaotic already with her mom in the kitchen.
Yeah. And gosh, Sugar, like I was really empathizing a lot with her, because it is such that like, I think her primary goal, it consciously was, mom's not okay, and I'm worried about her. And so I'm going to keep checking in on her. But her secondary goal was probably like, this is really scary for me. I'm scared. I'm uncomfortable. Something bad is going to happen if I keep asking mom if mom's okay, or if I keep trying to offer help. Maybe I can try to control the outcome a little bit more. So it seemed like a way that it almost seemed like a tick, like something that she just couldn't help. It was so compulsive. She couldn't help herself from it. And it seemed like it was as much to support her mom, like also to soothe herself. And that she almost couldn't help herself as her anxiety crept up throughout, especially in the kitchen. Like as her anxiety crept up, seeing how much more her mom was drinking and how much more erratic the behavior was getting, I think that was Sugar also trying to soothe herself or make herself feel better, or like she was doing something in what seemed like a really out of control and chaotic situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you want to point to another character, or do you want to bring that relationship into the present where we kind of saw that come back up?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. Right.
So she had invited mom to the restaurant opening, the Friends and Family night, and she didn't know if she was going to come, but she wanted to do it anyway. There was still that hope that she was hanging on to. And that's something that even adult children do. They tend to hope that their parents will still turn out to be the parents that they want them to be. And so we started to see that with Sugar in this episode. And finally, when her husband goes out and has that talk with the mom and she doesn't come in, he doesn't have the heart to tell her that what had just happened. He doesn't want her to lose that hope. He likes that she's still hanging on to this idea that her mom could be, I'm really going to cry.
Yeah.
He doesn't want her to experience that. He wants her to feel like things could still turn out okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right. And I was just picturing that, what's like my heart is like clenched right now. What I was picturing as you were describing that was the conversation between mom and husband, where she was saying, like, I don't deserve to be here. Like I didn't earn my right to be here. And that, and so like, it was probably the most caring and loving thing that her mom could have done was to stay away. And maybe that might sound counterintuitive, but it was almost as though like she knew that she might create more chaos or stress in being there. And sometimes the most loving thing that someone can do is to step away. And so that again, like made my heart break for mom, and feeling like, she's trying, she's doing the best that she can and trying to figure out how to love her kids in the best way that she can. And that might mean that she's disappointing her daughter specifically. And that was really hard to see.
Oh. Yeah. All right, before we both,
I know.
Get into that even more. Who else? Who else in this family?
Gosh,
I guess wind it back to episode 6.
Why don't we talk about Mikey?
Yeah.
We really got a chance to know him a little bit more and see him a little bit more, and I was curious, like what we were going to see from him or learn about him, and again, like trying to figure out where he might have been in terms of his substance use issues, and at first I was like, oh, maybe this is like pre-substances or pre-drugs or prescription medications. But it seems later on as we go throughout the episode that maybe not. But I was thinking about, I'm most notably thinking about right now the relationship between Carmi and Michael. And I was thinking about their exchange in like the pantry where Carmi gets or creates for Mikey the restaurant drawing that we see in season 1 and season 2, and this hopefulness that Carmi has that they can do this thing together, and Mikey, we see his reaction after Carmi leaves, and he is just distraught and broken, and we can infer from what we know from seasons 1 and 2 that Mikey knows like this can't ever happen, like that whether it's his addiction is too far gone, or financially things are too far gone, or inviting Carmi back into the mix is so not good for Carmi, like, but you can see
or his depression
yes
just taking over
yes
so much for him.
Yes. And so like we see that, and it's like kind of the same thing as what we just talked about with their mother, right? Like this is his own way, like him kind of pushing Carmi away from the restaurant is his way of protecting Carmi in a way. And Carmi didn't know that and didn't understand that at the time, but we see that was Mikey's way of really protecting Carmi, is by keeping him away from him, from the restaurant, from the family. Maybe this is a leap, I don't know, or maybe this feels obvious, but it seemed that in interaction, maybe that sense of failure is what was a trigger for Mikey to really act out and lash out at the dinner table. Like we were seeing, little drips and drabs, little jabs kind of coming through from family members, but like we really see him kind of topple over after that, like very emotional interaction with Carmi. So I was thinking that must have been really triggering for him.
Yeah, and we know that so much of what actually can activate us are feelings that we already have about ourselves.
Yeah.
And don't know stepdad's name. We'll just call him Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
He great to see him in a different role here.
Mm-hmm.
He kept telling Mikey that he's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And with how reactive Mikey was to that, you had to believe that this is what Mikey believes of himself. And that broke my heart, because this was just something that was being
weaponized.
Like weaponized and forced down his throat. And it was something that he was already feeling and already was such a strong thing that he was battling.
Mm-hmm.
That was an intense scene.
So intense. Like, I think we were all waiting for him to throw the fork. Like, when it's just like a matter of when. And yeah, I mean, it was super, super intense. And, you know, Lee did keep baiting him. And again, as a viewer, I was so irritated. And I also felt really protective of Mikey. Like, why is no one, who is this dude? Like, you know, like why is no one stepping in here? But it seemed like there was this element of kind of a comfort in the chaos, like comfort in the conflict. And, you know, we see mom, Donna, come in kind of right in the middle of this. And she has her own meltdown, in a way, like her own outburst. Maybe meltdown is too judgmental, but own outburst about, you know, how much
she drove through the wall. We can call it a meltdown.
Okay, meltdown. And you know, Lee says, like, I knew something was going to happen. Like, it's only a matter of time. And so I think that you know, just that sense of, like, again, this comfort in the dynamic, the comfort in the chaos, comfort in the drama, the like abusiveness, is just their steady state. That's their homeostasis. And, you know, that this is what Carmy was referring to at the beginning of the season when he's saying, always waiting for the other shoe to drop. They all at that table were all waiting for something to happen with Mikey, all waiting for something to happen with Donna, all waiting for something to happen with Lee. You know, like, it's just like everyone was activated on just waiting. And they were right. Many things happened that were pretty destructive.
As chaotic as that was, what I thought was such a nice, like, tying it up with a bow, and it's funny, it's Christmas. But what Carmy ended up doing with that not only that particular memory, but his memories of Christmas, because it sounds like this was not an isolated event. This was something that happens every year. He incorporated that memory into his work and into his present life with serving 7 fishes and, you know, kind of like taking back the cannoli. And I thought that was such an evolved way of looking at his past and his trauma, for him to reclaim some of these things that for so long never really felt like he could.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I mean, there was a little part of me that when he was like, well, Claire thinks, and I was like, shut the fuck up, Claire. and I should say, and yes, I mean, it was powerful. And I'm glad that you brought that up. I was going to talk about that too. In the first set of, like, our season 2 reactions, I was talking about Carmy's CPTSD, his complex post-traumatic stress disorder, but the taking back of the cannoli, taking back of the 7 fishes is such a great demonstration of a concept called post-traumatic growth. And this is something that doesn't always happen as a result of trauma. You know, with trauma, like, there's often an idea of just trying to get back to the state of functioning that you were prior to, like, a traumatic event happening, or just getting back to a steady state or kind of a baseline. Post-traumatic growth is harder to achieve because it's one's ability to like take their traumatic experience and transform it for the purpose of growth or progression or further development. And again, it's really hard and rare for that to happen because of how impacting traumatic events, especially chronic, living in an environment where there's chronic stress and trauma. Yes, like the taking back of the cannoli, taking back of the 7 fishes is a way that Carmy was able to do that and to create something beautiful from his trauma was like such a demonstration of his healing journey.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Good job, Carmy. Yay for him. I know I said at the beginning of this that we could spend the whole time talking about episode 6. I don't want to, though. I think unless there's something else that you wanted to bring out. Okay. And I can just bring this out as like a hot moment that I wanted to talk about briefly anyway. Just this turnaround for Richie that we saw throughout the rest of this season, from when he got like banished to this other fine dining restaurant, and really actually seeing it as that, like, I've been punished. I've been like, I've been, what's it called? I've just been like brought here for that reason alone. Mm-hmm. He went from that to actually finding some sort of passion in this and some sort of purpose in this that we saw him wanting throughout this whole season. And I mean, we saw his growth like happen in a snap. I think he was there for like a week or something. So maybe it was a little unrealistic, but regardless, I think that was still such a great character arc and such a great way for us to see him latch onto something and find himself in. And then everyone else kind of fell in line with this like new Richie and these new skills that he has, and he's a suit guy now and all this stuff that was just heartwarming.
I know. Yeah, I was so happy to see that. And, we hear him say, like, for the last 2 seasons, like, I'm good with people. Like, that's my skill. And, like, initially, I'm like, no, you're fucking not. Like, you. But then we see a way for him to harness, like, his goodness with people in a way that really did give him purpose and helped him tap into his passion. And yeah, we see him thriving, him delivering or having the chocolate covered banana delivered was just awesome. I mean, that was like a love to see it kind of moment. I feel so happy, like, for him that he was able to kind of get out of his own way and just like live into this different version of himself, which was great.
Did you have any other people, any other reaction?
Yeah, I had 2 more things. One was going to be a little quicker, so I'll do that first, and then I'll do my second one after that, if that's okay. So the first thing, I know we in our first set of part 1 of season 2 reactions, we talked about Carmi and Sydney and their relationship and their communication. And the thing that seems clear about both of them is that they both struggle with vulnerability, particularly like as it relates to communicating. Sydney's not a great communicator. Carmi's not a great communicator. But I'm thinking about the scene where they're both underneath the table and fixing the table. And we kind of see Carmi begin to lead with a little vulnerability, that he's starting to open up a little bit more. And it's kind of perfect because they're not looking at each other. So there is like this safety in doing that. But we see him lean into a little vulnerability, and she matches him and mirrors that and offers some vulnerability too. And I just thought that was like, such a great depiction of relationships that can get built with vulnerability, and that it does like, take giving some to get some. And it is really risky and can be really challenging, but wow, like, can it really bring people together and closer in a more intimate way? And I'm not shipping Sydney and Carmi. I do not think they should be together. I mean the intimacy in that you need for trust and partnership in the way that they have it. So yeah, that stuck out to me.
I love that. Yeah, they do have a really interesting relationship, and the fact that they did get to that point points to the strong suit of it and points to kind of how you could see this being intimate, but not, not on like this in the love way.
And the last thing I was going to talk about, I wasn't sure if you were going to touch on it too, Carmi and Claire and their relationship and the way that their relationship kind of sits at the end of this season. So I was thinking a lot about their relationship and especially their like kind of the way that their relationship sits at the end of the season. And one thing, and maybe it's just like heavy in my mind because we recently recorded an episode of Wishing You Well all about attachment styles. So I was like really looking at their relationship through that lens. But we see them growing closer together and Carmi developing feelings. I think we do hear him say that he loves her, that, you know, she's his girlfriend, like all of that stuff. And then at the end, you know, we see him like start to pull away. And it's giving major disorganized attachment that we see him, you know, a disorganized attachment or anxious avoidant attachment is when someone does want and know that there's a need for love and affection and connection. But once they get it, it's kind of scary for them because they've never really had that. And so they tend to pull away. There's the avoidance piece. And it's not surprising given what Carmi's upbringing was like, that it was so chaotic, that it was so unstable, that it was so inconsistent, that he would develop an attachment style like this. But I feel like that last scene where he's talking, not the last scene, but one of the last scenes where he's locked in the walk-in and he's talking to, I think he thinks he's talking to Sydney, but he's actually talking to Claire. It was kind of him trying to rationalize all the ways that this relationship wasn't good for him, and that it was the reason that that he kind of like took his eye off the ball. And it was like, no, dude, you are just really scared right now that there's this person that really cares about you. And she showed up for you in a way that even your mom couldn't tonight. And it's scaring the shit out of you. And so you are trying to find an escape hatch to get out of this because it's really probably scary and unfamiliar.
Yeah. And I mean, as you're saying that he has this disorganized attachment, that's how the relationship started too. He clearly has been interested in her in so long, was interested, gives her the wrong phone number on purpose. So that already, it's like, I want you, but I don't want you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. But he clearly has a lot to work through.
Yeah.
For this relationship.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going to happen with it. I wonder if she'll forgive him. I wonder if, because I imagine, I mean, once he found out that she was there, he was in shock and you just wanted him, you could tell he just wanted to swallow those all back up and kind of like that didn't happen.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And I think, we talked, I think your reaction, one of your reactions in part one of the Bear season 2 reactions was, Carmi was very all or nothing as it related to the restaurant versus his relationship with Claire. And again, like not surprising, he's never had a real relationship before. And so we again, very, very consistent with or disorganized attachment style. And so I guess what I would say is, well, first, Claire is an incredibly polarizing character on the internet. So I don't know if people are rooting for them together or not. Mm-hmm. But yes.
What if people said
that they don't like her at all? That she is, I don't know, maybe too needy or, that kind of thing. I don't know. I think people are really wanting Sydney and Carmi to get together. It's not going to happen. Shouldn't happen.
No.
Not approve. Don't do it.
No, internet. No.
The internet is wrong in that sense. But I think in order for Carmi to have a healthier relationship with Claire or with anyone, he really does have some healing to do. He's definitely not a securely attached person. And I don't know if Claire is or isn't. We didn't see enough of that to know. But what would benefit Carmi would be to spend time with people who are a little bit more securely attached and keep practicing vulnerability with Sydney and with Sugar and with other people in his life that he could trust, so that the closeness and the intimacy and the love that he feels and receives with Claire isn't so activating for him. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I hope to see season 3 sooner than we had to wait for season 2, but I imagine it'll also come out next summer again. Hopefully then. Hopefully it's not later than that.
I know. Yes, I hope it's not, especially with writer strikes and stuff going on. So fingers crossed we get The Bear season 3 soon. So whenever that comes out, we'll be back with more in The Bear. But until then, we have lots of reactions to give you all. We're reacting to The Bachelorette. And so many more shows. The Emmy nominations just got announced. We've reacted to many of the Emmy nominated shows. So go check those out in our archive. But yeah, we'll be back with more of our therapist takes soon. Always let us know in the comments what shows we should be watching that we're not watching already. But yeah, all right, everybody. See you next time.